Hello, welcome to Gardener's World and a beautiful autumnal day here at Longmeadow. There are still martins in the sky, so there's a touch of summer. But the truth is, this time of year, things have shifted. It is autumn, and it's time to embrace it. And I always feel that autumn is truly here when the apples are ripe, and they are. We're now in apple season. And the step-over apples that I put in here a few years ago have been really good this year. And of course, the beauty of a step-over apple is that although the tree, and it is a full tree, is tiny, and you can grow it in the smallest garden, the apples are normal size and as good as any tree that you can grow to any size. And this is a variety called scrumptious. And you know when they're ripe when they just come away in your hands. This is the first taste of this year. It's good, lovely. Lovely and sweet. That made Nigel sit up. Nigel loves an apple. In today's programme, I will be looking at how the apples have fared in the orchard, planting garlic for next year, and also checking up on my giant sunflowers.
Also this week, in the first of a new series, Carol takes an in-depth look at the workings of plants.
This week, I'm starting with seeds. We grow plants because they're beautiful, but if we learn more about their botany, it can help us all become much better gardeners.
And in his last visit to your extraordinary allotments, Joe goes to southwest London, where they grow their produce for a very particular purpose.
That's really nice. Step-over apples are really good for a small space, and they're very decorative around a vegetable bed. But you can't beat an orchard. If you've got the room to plant 2, 3 or more trees, it's really special. It's been a very variable harvest here at Longmeadow with the apples. And it seems to be variable across the country. Some places it's fantastic, other places not so good. And within the orchard itself it varies. So Jupiter, lots of fruit. Yet this tree, which is Reverend Wilkes, not an apple on it. After a really big harvest, apples very often have a rest year. And yet, a yard away, we have this, which is Herefordshire beefing, covered in apples. And I think that is down to the weather in May. We had a week of really quite sharp frost, down to -3, -4, and the apples that were flowering then will not have pollinated. The flowers will have withered, and that's what did them. So on balance, it's not too bad at all, and most of these will be at their best in about 2 weeks' time. But I've got one apple, which is always the first, which is ready right now. This is a variety called Arthur Turner. It's a cooker and one of the earliest to ripen. Now, the apples on a large tree will always ripen first at the top because they get more sun. And you can see here is this lovely blush on the fruit, which means that they should be ripe. Let's give it a twist to see. If you've got a pristine, unblemished cooker, the best way to eat it is simply to bake it. In true Boy Scout tradition, I'm going to cook them in the fire. Nothing could be simpler than taking an apple, coring it. Now, what I like to do is put a few sultanas in there, maybe a hazelnut or two, a little bit of brown sugar so it gets all caramelly and sticky. And if I just wrap that up like that, and then put it in the fire like that. Now, in theory, that should cook in about half an hour. But this is the first time I've tried cooking these like this, so I'm going to do another batch in the oven, and they'll cook in about 20 minutes' time, and then we can compare which technique works best. But it does seem to me absolutely crazy to grow delicious fruit or vegetables or anything that you can eat and not to eat it and enjoy it and relish it. Although I suppose a good reason for not eating it might be that you want to drink it. And Joe has been to an allotment in southwest London where they grow as much as they can to put in bottles and drink.
Dear Gardener's World, my gardening friend said I should put my allotment forward for filming as it really is photogenic. It's packed with fruit and vegetables and trees and flowers. We also have a grow it to drink it theme. Oh, now you're talking. Hops for beer, blackthorn to make sloe gin, vines for sparkling wine, and apples for cider. Come and see it. Who could say no? Sally and her family have been working this plot for 9 years, and their hard work really shows. It is photogenic. You've got a really good combination of ornamentals and edibles here. So what have you got here, then?
Well, we've got, as you say, a mixture of fruit and vegetables. We've got our brassicas over there this year. We've got sweet corn.
Yeah, that's
We've
looking
got
nice.
chard and beetroot.
Yeah.
We've got our courgettes. We've got leeks.
And a lovely quince.
That's having the most fantastic summer, that quince. We don't mind if the fennel self-seeds and it's growing here, and if we've got our sunflowers amongst the leeks and the cabbages, that's how we like it.
But I've heard that, you know, there's some drinking element to this allotment. Am I right?
There is.
Yeah. Now, I see you're picking a few apples here. Is this for an alcoholic beverage of some description?
It is. This is for our allotment cider.
Can I help pick a few?
Yes, why not?
Yeah?
This is our cooker.
Yeah.
This is a Bramley. But we like a mixture. We like a mixture of eating apples, cooking apples. Gives the best.
Right.
The best flavour. We've got a russet here. This is a lovely apple, and it's going to
Shall we-
make a good
Can we pick all of
flavour.
these?
We can indeed.
Oh, lovely.
We've left them for the cider.
Fantastic. Is it just your apples you use in the cider making?
Well, no, it's a joint venture. So people from all over the allotments bring their apples, and in return, we give them bottles of cider, the cider we made the previous year.
That's quite a good deal. Well, there's a decent amount of apples there, aren't there? How much cider would you get out of that, roughly? A few bottles?
Certainly.
I can't help but notice the grapes.
These are our Seyval Blanc grapes.
These look wonderful. Don't you have problems with birds eating your grapes at all?
Well, the parakeets fly over here. They don't seem to want to eat the grapes. But we started off growing them, like the French, low.
Yeah.
And then they were eaten. We think it was the badgers.
So growing them taller?
So we've tried the American system to grow them taller, but interestingly, the ones low down are still fine. But maybe the badgers are waiting for them to be ripe,
Yes.
because those badgers are very clever.
Which one's this? Which variety?
This is the Maréchal fork, and as you can see, it's just starting to turn red now.
Yeah, but it's absolutely covered, isn't it? I mean, you're going to get loads of wine out of that, aren't you?
Well, yes, but red wine we haven't been so successful with.
Okay.
White wine is,
And a sparkling white wine?
yes, yes.
Okay.
It's much more forgiving. So with English grapes, we think sparkling wine is the way to go.
With trees and bushes laden with fruit, at this time of year, it's all hands on deck. Helping Sally with the cider making today are her children, John and Jane, their cousin Fred, and neighbouring allotmenteer, Louis. Oh, this is where all the action is then. Hey? We've got some more apples here.
Oh, brilliant.
Thank you.
Oh, a bit of a mash-up in here, isn't it? Definitely. Put the apples down there. So how many bottles of cider do you get, on average, out of all these apples?
So on average, we do about 12 gallons, which is about 100 bottles, which is just enough to sort of give back to everybody who's donated the apples, and then have a few left over.
Have a few left over. You've got to get the balance
Yeah,
right.
exactly. We'll ferment it for a couple of weeks, and then we'll be able to bottle it after that. And then you could drink it straight away, but the longer you leave it, the nicer it'll taste. So we usually leave it up to about a year before we drink it. Well, would you like to try some?
Ah, I thought you'd never ask. Yes, please.
Yeah, that should be all right.
Yeah. So this from last year, is it?
Yeah, so that's from last year.
That's really nice. It's very, very drinkable, quaffable.
Well, we don't add anything to it other than the apples and just a little bit of sugar for the fermentation.
So it's almost good for me.
Almost.
That's what you're saying. No, that's really, really nice. I'm guessing you haven't tasted the cider yet.
No.
Not old enough. Got to wait a few years for that. What about the apple juice? You tried that?
Yeah.
Yeah, is it good?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's sort of a whole family enterprise, really, because we've had some of these apples from Grandpa. Then all the cousins come down to make wine and cider. Yeah, everyone gets involved. It's really nice, especially in the drinking.
It takes a lot of people, though. I mean, people are growing all the apples, bringing them here, juicing them all up. There's a lot involved, really.
Yeah, but it's worth it, yeah, as you can tell.
I can tell, certainly. I'll just have another little sip, just to check it's nice.
And just to check the quality of the sparkling wine too,
Cheers.
well, it would have been rude not to give it a try.
Well, it's always nice to visit an allotment, and this one is full of activity and producing some pretty nice stuff too. It's delicious.
I've often thought that I should get round to making some cider because we have so many windfalls here, and that's inspired me. I am going to do it. About a month ago, I got some spawn of oyster mushrooms, mixed them up with straw that I'd soaked overnight, put them in a bag, and then I've left them to do their thing. And the spawn has spread. You can see all this white fungal matter. And really importantly, these Primordia, Nigel, that is not helpful. That is not a mushroom. Go on. These Primordia, with their little black heads there, show that it's ready for the next stage in growing the mushrooms. The next stage in the development involves placing the bags somewhere light, warm, and moist. Take them out of the hessian and slash the bag. The idea is to allow vents from which the oyster mushrooms can grow. And we would expect to see the fruiting bodies, the oyster mushrooms themselves, in about 2 weeks' time. Now, the secret of growing melons probably has eluded me, but this is the one that I referred to a few weeks ago as being nearly ripe. Well, I reckon it is ripe. Time to taste it. Now, this is a variety called Outdoor Wonder, and the intention was to grow it outdoors in a bed, in a cold frame, and in the greenhouse and see which worked. The outdoor in a bed, total disaster, and came to nothing. Cold frame rotted on me, so this is the last chance to try it out. Now, it looks a little bit green, but it feels right. That's not bad. That's the best melon I've ever grown. I'm pleased with that. Come on, Nigel. The success of my giant sunflowers has been mixed, to say the least. Giant yellow is no more, and it was never very much. This one, which is Mongolian giant, might be Mongolian, but giant it is not. Now, around the corner, things aren't much better. Actually, it's not worth measuring. This is Kong. If you can't grow a sunflower bigger than 6 feet tall, it's not giant in anyone's book. However, things improve. This is Pike's Peak. If I let my rule down, what we have there is 9 foot 7.5 inches, 2 meters, 93. And there is another 2 or 3 weeks growing to be done yet. So maybe I'll top 3 meters. I suspect there'll be quite a few of you out there who will do better, because we've already got some pictures of some pretty good examples.
Although my giant yellow sunflower hasn't risen to any great heights, Harry's here certainly has. And lots of you have had great success too.
This is Helianthus lemon queen. And you can see it's very different to the giant sunflowers, although quite closely related, and has a mass of these small, rather elegant daisies. And it lightens up the border at a time of year when things can get a little bit heavy or feel as though they're fading. This is full of light and life. Lemon queen is a perennial. It's herbaceous, so it dies back in winter and then will regrow every year, getting a little bit bigger year on year. But it'll last for years if it's happy. Whereas a giant sunflower is an annual. It grows for 1 year and that's it. And however big it gets, it's raised from one small seed. And in the first of her series of films about the botany of plants, Carol is looking at and celebrating the wonder of seeds.
For centuries, we've been seeking to unravel the mysteries of plants, to unlock their secrets and enable us to have a better understanding of how they grow. As gardeners, we play a small but important role in maintaining the diversity of plant life on our planet. Yeah, we grow plants because they're beautiful and for our enjoyment. But if we learn more about their botany, it can help us all become much better gardeners. Over the next 5 weeks, I'll be getting up close and personal with plants, seeing how roots grow, studying the structure of stems. I'll be looking at their leaves and focusing on their gorgeous flowers. This week, I'm starting with seeds. Seeds are magical. Each one has a genetic blueprint that instructs the seed to grow into a specific plant. But that magic can't happen unless it gets the right amount of water, warmth, and light. Seeds are endlessly fascinating. They're intriguing. Everything about them is so diverse. Sometimes they're tiny little poppy seeds like this. On the other hand, they can be huge. A coconut's a seed too. And of course, the size they are affects the way that we garden with them and affects the way in which they actually germinate and become new plants. A radish. Who would have believed such a beautiful seed pod can come from such a mundane vegetable? But aren't they delightful? But the whole point about all these seeds is that contained within them is the very next generation of their own species. I'm at Cambridge University Botanic Garden, looking more closely at seed. Here, they classify plants into 2 main groups: monocots and dicots. Monocots sprout 1 leaf from a seed, and dicots sprout 2. If you look at this broad bean seed, nice and chunky, just here is the micropyle. That's a small aperture into which water penetrates, and at that stage, the seed begins to germinate. Here's one that's a little bit further on. In this chunk here was the embryo. It's already started to come into growth, and the very first part that grows is the radicle. That's the root. Up here is the plumule, which will become the true leaves of the plant. And these 2 big chunks either side are the cotyledon, and they'll become the cotyledon leaves, or we gardeners usually refer to them as seed leaves. If you think about any seed you sow, when they come up, you always get these 2 seed leaves. These are all dicots, so twin seed leaves. Monocots are all your grasses, your cereals, irises, all those kind of plants which just have single leaves. Seeds have developed ingenious methods to spread themselves far and wide. Sticking to humans, animals, drilling themselves into the ground. Some plants are so sensitive, the slightest touch catapults their seeds great distances. And the whole purpose is to increase their chances of survival. But seeds also have inbuilt dormancy that enables them to germinate only when the conditions are favourable. Physical dormancy is where seeds with tough coats need an external means to break down or soften their shells in order to germinate. Sweet peas is a classic example. These great big fat seeds that are really hard, really sort of solid. So one seed at a time, very carefully between your finger and thumb, just take your knife and peel back a little bit of that, just nick it. This time it's going to find it much, much easier to germinate. Physiological dormancy is where a seed lies dormant in the soil, potentially for years, waiting for the right conditions to spur it into life. Here's a fine example of what happens when that physiological dormancy is broken. Seedlings spring up. Probably in this area behind me there were big trees which have been cut down. Now there's lots more light, lots of water, and the temperatures are just right for these things to germinate. And I've got a veritable forest at my feet. I've got hornbeam, ash, birch and hawthorn, all proving the point that once things are exactly right, everything can spring into life. Next time you're sowing seeds, just think about their ingenious nature. And if you think about the way that nature does it and emulate her methods, you're well on the way to success.
I do think that that is the wisest advice of all. If you want to know how to grow something, find out where and how it grows in the wild, and you will never go far wrong. Now, garlic grows in the wild in warm, rocky places, good drainage, but most gardens, if not all gardens in the UK, can grow good garlic, and now is the time to plant it. Normally, I grow it in a raised bed, and it's fine, but last summer when I was harvesting my garlic, I noticed there was a little bit of white spores around the base of the plants, onion root rot, and that can infect all alliums, and it's endemic in the soil. So I'm going to grow some garlic in a container. Hopefully the container-grown stuff should be absolutely fine because the spores are in the soil, not in the air. Put some drainage in the bottom. The important thing is not to use soil from the garden if you're worried about onion root rot. I'm going to use a mixture of some soil that was in this trough, which was fresh this summer, a barrel load of garden compost, common potting compost bought in bags, mixed with a bit of grit to give good drainage. Mix it all up and that will be exactly the right combination of good drainage and rich soil. I've got two varieties here, neither of which I've grown before. I was very tempted to try this one, which is red duke. I really like purple red garlic, and then I've got extra early white. So I'm going to grow that on that side. Now, when you're preparing any garlic, break the bulb open like that. And the reason I'm doing this is because I only want to plant the biggest cloves. And then you plant them the right way up. And if you're in any doubt, at the bottom of each clove is a flat plate. And it's from that plate that the roots grow, and the pointy end is where the foliage grows. So that way up, and unlike onion sets, which you plant so that there's some showing, garlic should be planted so there's at least an inch of soil over the top of them. You just push the bulbs in. Really easy. Now, those won't germinate and certainly won't appear above ground for another month at least, so I can use the space to grow a catch crop. And I've got mitsuna, which is a Japanese green. It's actually a brassica, but you eat it like a lettuce, although you can cook it. It's delicious raw, slightly peppery. So harvestable from a week or two and until the weather gets really bad. By about next January, February, it'll be time to remove it because then we want to give the garlic as much light as possible as well as room to grow. These were sown on the 28th of August and pricked out, and you can see they're a really nice root system growing in individual plugs. So I'll plant between the garlic. So one there, one there. Well, there, that's a job done. And here are some others you can be getting on with this weekend.
Hyacinth bulbs planted now can be forced so they'll be flowering ready for Christmas. Use a free-draining compost in a container that has drainage holes. Half fill it and place the bulbs quite close together, and then top up the compost so that the tops of the bulbs are showing. Water them in, then put them somewhere cool and dark. And in about a month's time, shoots will start to appear. When these are nice and strong, they can be brought into the light and heat to force them into flower. Shrub roses are beautiful and tough and very easy to prune at this time of year. Simply shear them to shape. And that is all there is to it. Unless you live somewhere very cold and exposed, it's a good time to prune lavender. Cut back all the flowering stems and any excess foliage, but do leave new shoots below the point of pruning. And if you're growing them in a container and it's in an exposed place, it's a good idea to move them somewhere that is a little bit protected. They can withstand cold, but not the combination of cold and wet.
Come on. These are the apples from the oven, and you can see how Arthur Turner explodes. That's normal. That's how they're meant to be. So let's see what they're like from the fire. Well, it's certainly cooked. Let's have a go. It tastes exactly like an apple version of a baked potato cooked in a bonfire, which is a good or a bad thing depending upon your taste. But it's a lovely treat to grow an apple that you can't buy. That's the thing. You'll never buy Arthur Turner in a shop. You can choose out of hundreds of varieties of apples and grow a beautiful tree, lovely blossom, delicious fruit. That's what gardens give us, over and above anything you can buy. So, however you cook it, grow them, eat them, enjoy them. Well, that's it. I'll see you back here at Longmeadow next time. Till then, bye-bye.